like some people, I'm not able to see my daughter. I won't ever see Jolene again. To whisper to her one more time that I love you. Jolene did not deserve to be taken from us so cruelly. I did not deserve to live for the rest of my life in pain without my daughter.
From witchcraft to Satan, how to cut open a body, how to preserve a body, psychosis, as well as meth-induced paranoia, plus the body of Christ, Jesus, and redemption. All of those searches and all of that information in Kessler's phone, giving us valuable insight into her mindset.
What happened, all I know is that I didn't do anything. I had nothing to do with it. I have no idea, like, what they're doing. I think they just look for excuses, too.
Told me that he thought you were involved. They think you're involved in a missing person there.
If you can, or if you want to, please, bail me out, and I can.
I will.
That's my ability. I'll answer.
Kessler insists her mother get some of her belongings out of her storage unit before investigators search it.
You've got to get that stuff before Wednesday, because on
before
Wednesday? They
Which
confiscate
Wednesday?
it. They confiscate it next week.
Okay, next week. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, they confiscate it, and it becomes theirs.
Kimberly Kessler had this to say about the national attention she was getting.
There's absolutely nothing going on in the world.
I say it's because it's the Illuminati. I think that her people definitely are seriously involved in it, so that's just what is happening. So I got the Illuminati on.
A belligerent Kimberly Kessler appeared on a Zoom court hearing from the Nassau County Jail this morning wearing a suicide prevention vest, cursing out the judge and her own lawyers. Shortly after, she got up and left. Corrections deputies put her in an observation cell and then reported this.
She is completely undressed and has feces smeared on the window.
To get rid of the public defender's office. Yeah, exactly. Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin.
Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin. Jolene's cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin. And I refuse this assigned counsel.
I refuse the public defender's office. I refuse it. I have refused it. I refuse the public defender's office. They appointed Jordan Beard, Jolene Cummings' cousin, as my public defender.
Are you ready to begin today?
No.
Okay, Ms. Kessler, today appears that today will be the last day that the state will be presenting evidence, and the defense will then be afforded the opportunity to present evidence today. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. I want to stay here in court. It's certainly your right. I want you to be able to do that.
Sure, I can stay up here and I'm going to say what I want, when I want, how I want, which you silenced me for years. You have silenced me for years. So let everyone know this is just the tip of the iceberg. Jordan Beard, public defender, is Jolene Cummings' cousin, along with his brother Josh. Yeah, you swept it under the rug for 3.5 years, along with her father, her stepdad, who runs the jail, who recently retired. He still comes in.
Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated, and I truly mean that. I love talking to you guys, and I've met some of the most amazing people already, and I have literally only been at this a few months. Okay, so this is the craziest thing you've ever heard. I promise you that. So please give me a chance and stick through this with me. I promise your jaw will hit the floor at some point. Even I thought I was in over my head with this one. And with that, let's get started. Jolene Rebecca Cummings was born on May 13th, 1984. She was a single mother of 3 living in Florida. She was a hairstylist at Tangle Salon in Fernandina Beach, Florida, and for all intents and purposes had a fairly good co-parenting relationship with her ex-husband. Listening to how others describe her, it's very clear to see that she was very loved by so many people.
Trying to do what I can to be a good friend, even though she's not here.
Brooke Harley and Elma Power say they don't want her to be forgotten.
Always a smile. I've never seen her crying over anything, and that was an inspiration to me.
The three graduated from Hilliard Middle Senior High School in 2002 and have been best friends ever since. Brooke says Jolene was the kind of friend that would stick up for you.
She'd always be like, why are you letting them talk to you like that or do that to you? You can't do that. So I miss that about her.
It's just unbelievable, especially in this little town, especially to her.
Someone who they remember as vibrant and easygoing.
Jolene was a great person. She loved being a mom. She loved working hard.
We could go months without hanging out, and then when we did, it was just like we picked up right where we left off.
And that's how they want Jolene to be remembered.
The best friend in the world to have.
Jolene was last seen on Saturday, May 12th, 2018 at 5 p.m., leaving her job at Tangles. The following day was not only Jolene's birthday, but it was also Mother's Day. She is expected to meet up with her ex-husband to retrieve their children from him, but she never showed up. After about an hour of waiting and Jolene not answering her phone, her ex-husband drove the children to Jolene's mom. Jolene's mom would report her missing. Just days before she went missing, Jolene and her ex-boyfriend, Jason G., got into such a huge fight that neighbors would end up phoning police. Apparently, the screaming match began because Jolene didn't want G to stay at her home because he was wanted for a probation violation. A neighbor would say that the couple would often fight, but this time was worse, and this time the children were present.
It raises lots of flags with what just happened.
5 days before Cummings disappeared, her neighbor, who wants to remain anonymous, says she had to call 911 because she heard loud yelling between Cummings and her ex-boyfriend. Something she's heard before, but she says this time the altercation was worse.
Her tone she was more frantic. I think it's because the kids I don't know if they're there for any other fights, but this one, she just seemed more frantic.
According to the missing persons report, Cummings didn't want her ex-boyfriend to stay at her house because he had a warrant out for his arrest, and he ran away from the home before deputies arrived.
The kids need their mom.
Cummings' neighbor is now hoping that Cummings can be reunited with her kids soon.
The last person to see her was her co-worker, Kimberly Kessler, who was going by the name of Jennifer Seibert at the time. Why was she going by the name Jennifer Seibert at the time? Okay, well, in 2004, Kimberly Kessler went missing. This was all very suspicious because she told her family that she was going south to meet up with someone and assume the identity of somebody that she found on a tombstone, later to be that of Jennifer Seibert. She would actually assume 18 different aliases in 33 cities in 14 years.
50-year-old Kimberly Kessler disappeared from Butler, Pennsylvania in 2004. 8 years later, her mother reported her missing to Pennsylvania State Police. In 2013, Kessler made her way to the First Coast using a fake name and a fake social security number. Kessler went by Jennifer Seibert, which according to an online database matches the name of a woman buried in the same area she disappeared from. We also found her cosmetology license under the same name, Seibert. She used it to get several jobs. We confirmed she worked at Tony and Guy Hairdressing Academy in Jacksonville from September to April of 2014. Sometime later, she started working at Sports Clips in Jacksonville and then Great Clips in Yulee. In 2017, she worked at another Great Clips in St. Johns County. According to the owner at Woody's Barbecue in Fernandina Beach, she started working at the restaurant in March of this year and quit after 2 weeks on the job. Around the same time, she was reportedly working at Tangle's Hair Salon, also in Fernandina Beach, until earlier this month.
In 1998, her ex-boyfriend and the father of her child said that when her son was born, she signed the birth certificate as Christina Brooks, but he knew her as Miranda McKernan. When he questioned her about it, she told him that she was using these names to stay away from her family, while she was telling her family that she was using these names to stay away from the father of her child. Kimberly's mother said this started in 2004, but the father of her child says that's not true. It actually began 20 years prior to that.
And you had the chance to get an exclusive interview with Kessler's ex-boyfriend, the father of her child. We've known her by Kimberly Kessler, Jennifer Seibert, but this man knew her by not only another different name, but 2 different aliases.
Yeah, absolutely. So when her son was born in 1998, she signed the birth certificate under Christina Brooks, but he knew her by Miranda McKernan. And he said that she said she was using these fake names to stay away from her family. And she was telling the family she was using these fake names to stay away from the father of her child. So the mother's report, she says in 2004, she started using these fake aliases. And, you know, you've got the mother or the father of the child instead saying that this began 20 years ago. And she's been using these aliases for a long time. So it makes it really difficult to try and like hammer down what her past would be.
And let's listen to what her mom said.
When this started, it had to do with her son. He was 15 months old when she thought that he died, but...
Now, that doesn't exactly add up.
Right, so Edwards, the father of Kimberly Kessler's son, says that in 2004, their son was 6 years old, so he wasn't 15 months old. He also says that when he was 15 months old, Social Security took the child from Kimberly Kessler. He alleges that she showed up and tried to get him back with a handgun, and at that point she was arrested and she fled town, and he hasn't seen or heard from her since. They didn't even know her real name until the FBI came knocking on their door right after Jolene Cummings went missing.
I mean, there are so many questions, so many twists and turns to this saga as it unfolds. What does he think about now being in the spotlight because of this woman he hasn't seen for years?
You know, he expressed to me that they've lived their entire life Kessler free, and that's how they intend to keep it. They don't want to be in the spotlight. They want the spotlight to be on the Cummings family because they're mourning right now, and there's not a lot of resolution from them.
And how did you get him to speak to you? Because I know a lot of people have been trying to talk to him, and he's not wanted the attention.
No, he's not interested in talking to the media. He messaged us when we posted this interview with Kimberly Kessler's mother and was upset, understandably upset, and he said, you know, this isn't true, and I have the truth. And he didn't want to talk at all. And I was like, please, like, I'm working on the story, and I care about what you have to say.
Wow. So it is a very interesting interview. You wrote an excellent article. You can see that article on firstcoastnews.com as well as...
There are also police reports from 2015 and 2016 when she was living in Rochester, Minnesota as Jennifer Seibert. The first one describes an altercation with another woman at a women's shelter. Kessler accused the woman of stealing some of her belongings, but the woman claims that never happened and accused her of doing the same thing. Police checked surveillance cameras, concluded nothing was stolen, and the case was closed. Another 2 reports make mention of her landlord. Kessler accuses him of harassment, claiming he broke into her home and urinated on her bed, along with claiming that he was opening her door at night after she locked it. The landlord asked her to move out early, and officers noted that she could have possible psych issues going on. Fast forward to 2018. Jolene and Kim were working together at Tangle's hair salon. It is said that the two did not get along, and Jolene would begin making comments such as, "She's not who she says she is."
Yesterday, the News4JAX team showed you this list, 2 pages of names Kessler had stored on her iPhone that was confiscated by authorities. We counted more than 60 names, along with the words Satanist, witch, and evil, murderous gang. Front and center is the name Kurt Christopher Allen. Through phone interviews, we hear investigators asking about him. This unidentified woman went to high school with Kessler in Butler, Pennsylvania.
She went from dating like one of the most popular students in high school to this guy. His name was Bob Allen.
Now the Bob Allen, did he have a different name? Was that his nickname?
Robert Allen, I remember that.
Robert Allen?
Robert Allen.
What about a Christopher Kurt Allen?
In Kessler's notes, we also see she references someone with the initials KCA. She writes, May 2018, KCA in my dreams somehow. Astral project again, I guess. Dreams are peculiar. Demon in dreams. Told me all the things they tell all the people. They sucker into their cult. The News4JAX team found an obituary for a Kurt Christopher Allen who died in Jacksonville in 2014. The obit doesn't say how he died or if he's connected to any of Kimberly Kessler's aliases. One of Kessler's ex-husbands tells police she may have found her child in Jacksonville.
She told you that she had a son? Is that right or no?
I think she said it was a boy.
Well, I can tell you she's a master of disguises. She wears a lot of wigs and changes her look a lot. Any information you have is very important to us. We do have a girl that's missing. We do believe she's dead.
Yes.
We do believe that we've been in the landfill searching for any body parts.
That's crazy.
Another death we now know investigators were looking at tied to Kessler's hometown.
What about someone named Grace?
The I-Team believes that investigators are referring to this woman, Grace Darling Bartley, who died in Butler, Pennsylvania in 2009. Her cause of death isn't given, but her obit says she was married to a Tim Bartley. Both the names Tim Bartley and Wayne Bartley are also on Kessler's list of names. We hear investigators saying the two are brothers and that they believe she went to high school with them and possibly dated one of them. We hear that same classmate from earlier ask this question.
Back in 1987, which was the year I graduated, my best friend was killed in a motorcycle accident. Kim's brother, Bob, was seriously injured in this accident. Back in the day, people had said, oh, I don't know, maybe somebody ran them off the road, this or that. If you could just check into that.
And the I-Team has previously told you friends also remember tales of Kessler trying to hit that brother that woman was mentioning with a baseball bat. Her ex-husband, who you also heard in the story, says she stabbed him.
After Jolene is reported missing, police go to her home and find a mess of things thrown about. But remember, she had that altercation with her ex-boyfriend, Jason G., a few days prior, when she told him that he could not stay at her home because he had an outstanding warrant. The police report would say that he damaged cabinets in the home, but Jennifer told police that there was no physical violence, and Mr. G had left the home prior to police showing up. So now that Jolene is missing, police are very eager to speak to him and Jolene's ex-husband. But during this time, another co-worker of Jolene and Kimberly texts Kimberly Kessler to ask her if she knows anything.
This is one of those text messages Vicki Simmons sent to Kessler, who at the time went by one of her alias names, Jennifer Seibert. Simmons tells Kessler Cummings is missing. She then asks if Cummings mentioned birthday plans that weekend before she disappeared. Kessler responded, not answering the question, but said she hoped Cummings was okay. Simmons asked Kessler again if Cummings told her about any plans she made. Kessler responded saying Cummings didn't tell her about any plans. Simmons sent Kessler another text saying that Cummings' mother filed a missing persons report. She asked Kessler if she remembered what Cummings was wearing the last time they worked together. Simmons also spoke about how Cummings recently filed an order of protection against her ex-boyfriend. Kessler stated she could only remember that Cummings might have been wearing dark-colored pants. Another text message shows Simmons implying that detectives want to speak with Kessler and that it was starting to look bad that she hadn't already. Kessler claims she had already spoken with detectives that morning. She then said she sends blessings and prayers.
May 14th, 2018. Because Jolene was last seen at Tangle's, police head over there next, where they find little droplets of blood. May 15th, 2018. Jolene's car is found parked in a Home Depot parking lot. The car has nothing in it. No car keys, no cell phone, no purse, and no Jolene.
Sheriff's Office. Hello. I needed to speak to you about someone that you had contact with the other night. You're not in trouble for nothing.
Oh, I was like,
okay.
I don't even know.
Can we sit down for a second? Okay. You came in contact with, there was a female that came into the store the other night, right here.
Yes.
And y'all sat there and talked for a little bit on video.
Yeah, she had me call her a taxi.
She had you call her a taxi?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what your conversation was with her?
She said something about how she was out with a couple of friends drinking, and one of the friends' ex-boyfriends came around. There had been some kind of problem. She didn't go into detail for it much after that. And to be honest, I don't even know how she got to the store because she had me call her a taxi, and then, 10-15 minutes later she was gone. The taxi came and picked her up, took her, she said somewhere to like a Plant Fitness.
Okay.
That was around us.
All right. What else did she say about them being out earlier?
Nothing. She went into this really weird conversation about what meth does to your body. literally this is what most of our conversation was about.
What meth does to your body? Okay.
Yeah, it was really weird. All she said about what happened earlier that night was that they were out drinking. One of the girls, like one of her friend's ex, came around, and then, then it just went bad from there. But she didn't give any details to me, though.
Where were they drinking at?
She didn't tell me. I figured if she walked to us, though, they were probably over at the Goat, most likely. And from the way I saw her come in from the store, she came from that way. I would hope she didn't walk all the way from the island.
I know, right? What happened when the ex came in?
Like I said, she didn't talk about any of it to me. Nothing about what happened with her friends, and the ex. Just that something had happened and that she didn't know that it wasn't good.
She said that what?
Just that something had happened and it wasn't good for what happened between the friends and the ex.
Did she give you any?
She didn't give me names.
Was there an argument or was?
I figured there was an argument. That's how she made it sound like, but she didn't give me any details on it.
Did she say how many people were out together?
All she said was just her and a couple of friends.
After this, police would find Jason G. hiding in a home under some cardboard boxes and arrest him. Jason would refuse to answer any questions about Jolene, so the judge would hold him without bail for the outstanding warrant. Jason actually had a prior DV charge placed against him. Once in 2011 by an ex-girlfriend who says she was with her children when she assaulted her in her car, forcing her neck against the seat, grabbing her phone and smashing it. He then went to her home and smashed plates. All of this stemmed from her dating someone else. But after some digging, police would be able to clear Jason G. and Jolene's ex-husband. Police have a new prime suspect, Jolene's co-worker, Kimberly Kessler, who was also the last known person to have seen Jolene that day at the salon, as it was only the two of them working there on that day. Also because CCTV shows Kimberly Kessler as the person dropping off Jolene's car at the Home Depot parking lot that night, and Jolene was nowhere to be found. After dropping off the car, CCTV shows Kimberly going into a gas station and asking somebody to call a taxi for her. The following day, police find Kimberly hidden in her car with two large trucks on either side of her. At that point, police arrest Kimberly for auto theft for stealing Jolene's car. When police fingerprint her, the name comes back as Kimberly Lee Kessler, not Jennifer Seibert, who was her current alias at the time. After investigating the case further, police believe that Jolene is dead, even though they don't have an actual body yet, and the reasoning behind these beliefs are surveillance footage of Kimberly Kessler at Walmart buying an electric knife, 30-gallon trash bags, gloves, and ammonia at the self-checkout aisle. Then footage of her going to a car wash where she pays special attention to the interior of her car. Over at Tango Salon, after detectives spray luminol, which lights up when there are traces of blood, police find blood on the floor, next to a salon chair, on a wall, next to a map, and on a calendar. The cash register at the salon was also found ripped open, and when Kimberly was found, she had $1,600 in cash on her. And there's also surveillance footage of Kimberly struggling to throw what looked like to be a very heavy garbage bags into a dumpster.
Fingernail scrapings from Kessler, she complained, saying they were making her bleed on purpose. While Kessler changed in the corner of the room, you cannot see her on camera, but she points out injuries on her bodies, claiming she had bed bugs.
Guess what that's from? What? Bed bug bite like a month ago.
How'd you get those?
I have bed bugs. I've had them for years.
What, in your car?
Yeah.
How do they get in a car?
At the shelters that I stayed at, they hitchhike in everywhere. So people who have them in their house, they probably have them in their cars just because I took them from the homeless shelter into my car. So sometimes they leave bruises, sometimes they just leave a red scar.
After Kimberly Kessler was arrested, ex-coworkers, ex-acquaintances, and ex-friends started coming forward with some crazy-ass stories. Her ex-boyfriend came forward claiming she stabbed him back in the 90s and bit his father. There were also phone calls released of Kimberly and her mother where she blames the Illuminati, and interviews with one of Kimberly's cellmates.
All right, little Chica. All right, so I'm going to take...
News4Jax has learned Seibert has worked at 4 different places in 6 months. Some of her former co-workers describe her as erratic and explosive.
I was very surprised to hear it, but only in the sense that, wow, you know, I mean, that's a horrible thing to hear, but I knew something was odd with her anyway, because she always seemed to be hiding from something when she was here. And she said it as an ex that she, you know, was being stalked by. So I just thought maybe that's why she came in and had her hair in wigs and was always like she was really watching her back and going by different names.
She just couldn't work with the clients. She would get angry at them. They, said she did something wrong, and we'd have to intervene. She didn't work well with any of the other stylists there.
Idea who she would even be talking about if she said she was afraid of some guy she dated. No, everybody was afraid of her.
That unidentified friend said Kessler once ran with the popular crowd before turning into someone else entirely.
It was just like one day something snapped. And it seemed to be maybe over a summer break, if I remember correctly, because it was like one school year was great, and then the next one she was just this different person. My neighbor also that gave me this other information said that she does remember Kim going into that little like witchcraft or maybe voodoo mode or something real dark.
Kessler and her mom continue to talk about why the ongoing media coverage, saying it could be a bad omen.
I say it's because it's the Illuminati. I think that her people definitely are seriously involved in it, so that's just what is happening.
Well, my name's Wayne Harrington.
St. Johns County inmate Brenda Brown told detectives about her interaction with Kessler in jail.
She said she had a boyfriend that was a bank robber. She was wanted by the FBI, and that she had 5 aliases, and that she was going to write a book one day, and y'all could all read. We could read it.
Brown says Kessler also told her detectives would figure everything out once they got her fingerprints.
I kind of feel like railroaded about this. I mean, you just I don't know, search warrant, you can just produce that in minutes. Here you go.
She struck me as being dangerous with some delusional and paranoid components. Her behavior was erratic and bizarre. She did this major change of personality.
In interviews with detectives, childhood friends describe a young Kimberly Kessler.
I tried to stay off of Kim's radar because, quite honestly, she was a scary individual.
An ex-boyfriend describes alleged physical attacks.
She bit your dad in the leg? Yes. And she stabbed you in the chest?
And an ex-husband says he also had a close call.
I heard something about she had stabbed you with some scissors. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, she was crazy, I can tell you.
Kimberly Kessler's phone conversations in jail with her mother. They start with Kessler asking her mother to bail her out. At one point, Connie Kessler confronts her daughter about why she's been arrested.
He told me that he thought you were involved, they think you're involved in a missing person there.
If you can or if you want to, please, bail me out, and I can.
I will.
That's my ability. I'll answer.
There's absolutely nothing going on in the world.
I say it's because it's the Illuminati. I think that her people definitely are seriously involved in it, so that's just what is happening. So I got the Illuminati on.
Then David Trumpus comes forward with his story. He met Kimberly online under the alias Mia Stone after she reached out to him on Facebook. She then drove from Florida to Texas, wanting to move in with him and even propose to him. All of this just 1 month before detectives call him about Jolene.
And told investigators that murder suspect Kimberly Kessler drove halfway across the country and proposed to him. And tonight he describes what he calls a creepy encounter.
I already knew she was creepy. That Lord kind of blessed me on pegging that one right.
David Trumpus says Kimberly Kessler reached out to him on Facebook under the alias Mia Stone.
Sure, it's kind of weird.
He says things got weirder when she suddenly drove more than 1,000 miles from Florida to Texas to meet him.
I didn't even want her coming out to the house when I found out she was here in San Antonio, so I met her in town. And then, after about a half-hour lunch at a Whataburger, she was just a little too weird for me.
He said she wanted to marry him, but he turned her down. What goes through your mind knowing what she's accused of now?
I already knew she was creepy. Lord kind of blessed me on pegging that one right.
Turns out Kessler was no stranger. His cousin, Kimberly McCall, tells me they were best friends when they were kids.
We rode all over the countryside there on our horses, and we would go to the roller skating rink.
McCall says this is a photo of Kessler with her family's horses. Did you ever reconnect as adults?
She did call me, I believe it was the late 90s, out of the blue. It was an odd time, like 3 or 4 a.m., and told me about what she had done to her brother, because she bragged to me that she bashed his teeth out with a baseball bat.
Then there are the searches and pictures that police would find on Kessler's phone before and after the murder.
Is made by Kimberly Kessler before Jolene Cummings' murder, including this search Kessler typed into her phone. Co-worker guilty of murder, missing person body not found. That search was done on April 30th, 2018, 2 weeks before investigators say the murder ever happened. We also found Kessler had a photo of Cummings' appointment book from April. She had also written a note in her phone in April that read, "Jolene, I think Vicky wants to get rid of me because I'm not bringing in any money." Vicky was their boss at the Tangle Salon. After Cummings' disappearance made headlines, we found Kessler searched Jolene Cummings' name at least 457 times in just 48 hours. That included an internet search of simply Jolene Cummings, no body, no crime. Kessler's phone reveals that she viewed bizarre images through Pinterest, including plastination and how to preserve a human body, and also how to dissect a human body. Kessler also makes references to witchcraft. This photo with the name Virginia and witch written on top of it stored to her phone. As were these 2 pages of names with evil murderous gang at Walmart, witch, and Satanist scribbled in between them. Investigators later traced some of these. And dark is one way to describe the evidence that we saw on her phone there today. Now, Kessler also had pictures of church hymns, Bible verses, messages about Satan, how God forgives, and redemption for lost souls. But overall, guys, it was just fascinating to see how her search in 1 second could be meth-induced psychosis, paranoia, dissecting a body, right into Fernandina Beach church services, like all within like 3 seconds, and then she would search a certain Bible verse. And it was like, you could just tell it was like erratic.
So as Kimberly Kessler's trial is about to begin, to add insult to injury for all the BS and heartbreak she has caused Jolene's family so far, because remember guys, Jolene's family was looking for her amongst tons and tons of garbage. I know I always stress this, but please keep Jolene's family in your thoughts and prayers, because it seems to me that Kimberly's just making a mockery of this crime and this trial with her ridiculous antics and overshadowing poor innocent Jolene, because the majority of us, including myself, are just enthralled in the hot mess that is Kimberly Kessler.
Anthony, this still remains the focus. A plastic shopping bag. Authorities say Kimberly Kessler was last seen throwing a bag and a small trash can into a dumpster that they believe is in this landfill, and say progress is being made.
This is not a place I ever thought that we could find evidence or even fear that my daughter could be.
3 days of 12-hour shifts in the heat.
We're going through that layer by layer, trying to find something that can give us some clues on the disappearance of Jolene Cummings.
So far, crews have narrowed the search down from the original pile of debris that was about the size of a football field.
I do think that we are in the right vicinity of where we need to be.
A can about so high, about like that. Just dump the contents into this.
The focus still remains on finding a white plastic shopping bag and a small trash can that authorities say Kimberly Kessler was seen on surveillance video throwing into a dumpster that they believe is in this landfill.
It's our only suspect, is Kimberly Kessler.
Get the answers they've been searching for.
We all miss Jolene so much, and we need closure.
Kimberly would actually undergo 3 separate competency arraignments because of all of her antics and outbursts. She would also end up being transferred to Duval County Jail because she went on a hunger strike that Nassau County did not have the proper treatment for. The courts, believing that this was in an attempt to end herself through starvation, being 196 pounds at the time of her arrest and then dropping down to just 74 pounds. Jolene's stepfather also worked at the jail at the time, which made it a conflict of interest. But the public defender, Jordan Beard, was not Jolene's cousin. He was not her cousin. That is completely false.
A belligerent Kimberly Kessler appeared on a Zoom court hearing from the Nassau County Jail this morning wearing a suicide prevention vest, cursing out the judge and her own lawyers. Shortly after, she got up and left. Corrections deputies put her in an observation cell and then reported this.
She is completely undressed and has feces smeared on the window.
Judge James Daniel held a competency hearing for her today with prosecutors, defense attorneys, and mental health experts on the line.
Would be that I would want to see her many times. I would want to re-administer psychological testing.
Kessler has been ruled competent to stand trial after a stint at Florida State Hospital, but her recent behavior calls that into question. She's been on multiple hunger strikes where the sheriff believes she's tried to starve herself to death. She weighed 196 pounds when she was arrested in 2018. Today, she weighs just 74 pounds.
Ms. Kessler has stated that she's going to refuse eating until she is drug out in a body bag.
Have you ever seen a defendant act like this?
Not to this extent, no. I mean, it takes a tremendous amount for any person to go to the extent that she has.
Attorney Gene Nichols is following this case. He tells us her bizarre and unstable behavior is making it difficult for everyone involved.
You can still be competent to stand trial even though you have mental health issues, correct?
Absolutely. So when it comes to competency, the threshold is not, does an individual have mental health issues? It's whether or not they can work with their lawyer, whether or not they understand what's happening to them.
She now weighs 89 pounds, according to officials. Sheriff Bo Leeper filed an emergency petition saying Kessler is starving herself to death, and the medical staff at the jail doesn't have the resources to force feed her. I spoke with attorney Gene Nichols, who is not affiliated with this case. Does Kessler have the right to refuse to eat?
Yes, she has rights, but the state of Florida, the county, in this case of Nassau, their rights most likely will trump hers when it comes to a court hearing.
We may want to put her on mute while we finish this, Judge. It's fine.
Let's just put me back on myself.
Ma'am, come back up.
I want to get rid of the public defender's office. Yeah, exactly. Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin.
Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin. Jolene's cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin. And I refuse this assigned counsel.
I refuse the public defender's office. I refuse it. I have refused it. I refuse the public defender's office. They appointed Jordan Beard, Jolene Cummings' cousin, as my public defender.
Are you ready to begin today?
No.
Okay, Ms. Kessler, today appears that today will be the last day that the state will be presenting evidence, and the defense will then be afforded the opportunity to present evidence today. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. I want to stay here in court. It's certainly your right. I want you to be able to do that.
Sure, I can stay up here and I'm going to say what I want, when I want, how I want, which you've silenced me for years. You have silenced me for years. So let everyone know this is just the tip of the iceberg. Jordan Beard, public defender, is Jolene Cummings' cousin, along with his brother Josh. Yeah, you swept it under the rug for 3.5 years, along with her father, her stepdad, who runs the jail, who recently retired. He still comes in.
Not surprisingly, the day that Kessler left, the Nassau County Jail celebrated with a cake and ice cream, and who could blame them?
Yesterday, Nassau County Sheriff Bill Leeper said this departure is the start of a celebration for him and his department. Now, this all began shortly before 4:30 this morning when the van first arrived here at the Sallyport at the Nassau County Detention Facility. The deputy you see there does close the door, but not before throwing up the rock-on hand gestures. And then there is this second video of the van pulling out of the Sallyport a short time later. Now, we cannot see inside the windows, but we know Kimberly Kessler has left the Nassau County Jail for the last time. And Sheriff Bill Leeper said the day of her conviction that he could not wait to get her out of his jail. That day has now finally come.
We're going to celebrate her homegoing, because her new home for the rest of her life, until she takes her last breath, is going to be Florida State Prison.
How much has she cost the jail? Do you even know?
How much she's cost us, I have no clue, but it's thousands of dollars. She has, over the last few weeks, attempted to take her life. She was unsuccessful, obviously, but we wanted to keep her safe in our jail until we could get rid of her and put her in the state's hands and let them deal with her.
This celebration would be short-lived, though. Kimberly would be sent back to Nassau County Jail after the Duval County Jail had to keep sending her to the hospital due to her starvation diet. After returning back to Nassau County, Kim would find herself with new charges. Ready? You're not ready for this one. Officers asked Kim to move cells so that they can sanitize it for her. That's when she stripped naked, stood on the bed, and took feces that she had stored in a styrofoam cup. She smeared it all over her cell, all over her face and herself, before throwing it at the officers. Guys, what the actual fuck? Have you ever heard something this crazy? I told you, I promised you. She was charged with 2 counts of assault on an officer. Monday, December 6, 2021, Kimberly's trial starts. Every day she would be brought into the courtroom, and every day she would have to be removed from the courtroom for being disruptive. Thursday, December 9th, 2021, trial's over. That's it. That is all it took for them. 3 days. They actually tried to give her one more chance to be in the courtroom on the 9th, but once again, she couldn't handle it. It only took a jury a little over an hour to come back with a verdict. Guilty. Did any of you guys not see that one coming? I'm just curious, honestly. I'm just curious. After the trial was over, the sheriff announced that he didn't believe that this was Kim's first murder. They think that she may even be a serial killer. What do you guys think? And I think that they're going to go on to look into all these aliases and if these are linked to any missing persons, because they truly don't believe that this is her first murder. And I truly don't believe it either. But I don't know what you guys think. Tell me. Kim was sentenced to life without parole plus 5 years for stealing the car.
But one person solved this case, and that was Jolene. Jolene left her blood, and she left her DNA, and that's what got her. That's what helped us close this case out. I don't for 1 second believe that Kimberly Kessler, or whatever name she's going by today, I don't believe this is her first murder. I don't at all. She's evil. She's evil in the flesh. And as soon as she's sentenced, I want her behind out of our jail, because we are fed up with her crap. It's the state's problem from now on. So we're glad the verdict came about. It was a just verdict. The jury came to the right conclusion. Our heart goes out to Jolene, her family, her children, her mother, her sister. But nothing's going to bring her back. And we're not going to rest until we find her. And hopefully one day she will turn up somewhere. And we pray for that day.
It's been a long 3 years. 3 years, 7 months, and 9 days that my daughter Jolene was taken from us. Today we praise God. We praise God that we got the verdict and that it gives us some type of closure. While my daughter Jolene has not been found, we have at least the verdict of the indictment a first-degree premeditated murder. We miss Jolene every second of the day. My family, our families, the Cummings families, the children, not a day goes by. But I really feel like Jolene is with us today. I felt like she's actually been in that courtroom with us. My heart grieves for everyone that's lost a child. But when you lose a child that's murdered, we're in our own classification. It's like unique as a fingerprint. Only do these people truly understand what it's like, what we go through. And there's been a couple that have reached out to me that have gone through the same thing. So for myself, for our families, and the many friends, my son, my daughter, we thank you. We thank you to the jurors. We couldn't have done this without the verdict. Thank you so much. I do have a message to Kimberly Kessler, as from one mother to another mother. I know that you feel the pain of not being able to see your son, but if you could find it within your heart to tell us where the remains of my daughter, where are the remains of my daughter? Give us some closure. I'm asking you from one mother to another.
Okay, guys, if you're still here, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me know what you thought. If you stuck it out with me to the end, I appreciate it so much. Was I right? Did your jaw hit the floor? It was crazy. Was this one of the craziest things you've ever heard? Leave me a like and a comment and subscribe, please, if you haven't yet. It really helps me out because I'm so small and because YouTube is not a fan of us true crime community, so it really helps me out. But let me know what you think, please. I really want to know. And until next time, guys, thank you so much.